Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 8 Thursday night football single game showdown on DraftKings. We're going to talk our way through it, figure out how we can make lineups for this, whether you're using an optimizer or building by hand. Massive tournaments on DraftKings this weekend. $2.25 million is it $10 again? No, it's $15 this week for the big one. Or if you're a smaller bankroll player, there's absolutely no shame in being a smaller bankroll player. The mini max games, if you're going to try and learn how to be a 150 max player, gives you the opportunity to try and 150 max, and they will keep putting up more and more and more of those. So I know that we've got some people in this community that are trying to learn how to make 300 or 450 lineups that are differentiated from one another in the hopes of binking one of the tournaments. If you're going to learn to be a mass multi-entry player, I suggest that if you've never done it before, if you've never used optimizers before, that you learn your way around, that you dip your toe in at the mini max levels that aren't going to make a big impact on your bankroll, like the 5 cent, 10 cent, 25, 50 cent games that cost $7.50 to enter 150, $15, $75 for the 50 cent one. And you can learn and still have an opportunity to win like $5,000 to $15,000, depending on which slate that it is for your small investment, while learning if you are a mass multi-entry sort of player. It's not for everybody. Not everybody's going to be profitable with it, and it's extremely hard to learn how to make a spreadsheet dance and how to make an optimizer dance. We are going to go through on this and talk about the different correlations, whether you're hand building or using an optimizer. We're also going to look at plugging those things into the optimizer at Fantasy Labs later in the show to give you a walkthrough of 4 or 5 of the very basic rules that I talk about on these videos to put it in. So thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, ring notifications bell, like the video. Let's see if we can't get 1,000 likes or more on this one before the game kicks off on Thursday night. Let's look at the slate. The 500-pound gorilla in the room is Christian McCaffrey. He's been out and on IR since super early in the season. You all know who he is and how good he is. We know how much volume he has gotten when he has been healthy. He has been practicing this week. I'm recording this, it's Wednesday around noon. We still don't know if they are going to activate him for this Thursday night game against Atlanta, who we have been streaming running backs against for as long as I have been playing daily fantasy. Or if they're going to rest him and it's going to be another Mike Davis week. The issue is that they kind of priced them both up. Mike Davis at captain 13-2, which is a fair price for him, especially with the 2 kind of bust weeks that he's had in a row. Christian McCaffrey coming off IR and not knowing whether or not he's going to get anywhere near the amount of running back volume that he got before. So here's the story on that. Last year, he got almost impossible volume at running back. Like 98, 99% of the running back snaps and touches on Carolina belong to Christian McCaffrey. If you don't understand how out of line that is with the rest of the league, Ezekiel Elliott, who the past 2 years has been one of the highest volume backs in the league, or, Dalvin Cook, who's one of the highest volume backs in the league, they see like 80% of the running back snaps and touches on their teams. So Christian McCaffrey was in a completely different universe under Ron Rivera. We expected that to come down a little bit this year, but if it came down to like 85%, he still would have had the most volume in the league. Now, with as good as Mike Davis has been, and from like an elusive standpoint, he's very tough to tackle. He's very slippery. He's been good in the passing game, and I know he's had 2 kind of miss weeks for us here. The question is Christian McCaffrey going to go back to that 90+% role? And we just don't know. So if he is back, he's going to be a dangerous spend at 17-7. It might be a wedge play for a lot of different people that, you know what, I can't trust that McCaffrey is going to get the volume that he got before, and I want to wait and see. Or people who say, I'm just going to buy in and he's going to do what he's done before, and we're going to just go with him. What I do think you can do is use McCaffrey, if he's back, in a stack with Teddy Bridgewater, if you're building Bridgewater at captain lineups. And I may tie McCaffrey as captain to Bridgewater. So this is what I'm talking about. Correlation is key when you're building showdown lineups. So you should be looking to do that. Anytime you build a Teddy Bridgewater at captain lineup, and I do tend to limit my quarterback captains, especially when they're statue guys. Now, Bridgewater is not as much of a statue guy as we thought he would be coming into this year. He's actually been very good with his legs, running way more often than we thought he would, though it's not something that happens every single week. He does it mostly to escape from pressure. 26 rushing yards week 1, 0 in week 2. 12, 32, 3. 48 against Chicago. So, like, I can't guarantee you that he's going to get you 3, 4, 5 points on the ground like we can with so many other quarterbacks, but know that he does have the possibility to add to his score with his legs. Though he is not a rushing quarterback, he is able to scramble, which is something I did not expect after the leg injuries that he's had in his career. If we're building Teddy Bridgewater lineups, we want to build two groups around those. One, with all the pass catchers that exist on Carolina, and we're going to make sure that we pair Bridgewater with at least two of those pass catchers. I will be including, if McCaffrey is active, I will be including McCaffrey in that. If he's inactive, I will be including Mike Davis in that group. If McCaffrey is active, I will not be including Mike Davis in that pass catching group. So let's just assume that McCaffrey is active. I'll include him. I'll include Anderson. We're going to include Curtis Samuel, who had himself a very good week last week. Ian Thomas, and on down. Where's DJ Moore? And DJ Moore. Right? I can't wait for somebody to show up in the comments and say that lineup, you can't have 6 guys from the same team. And that lineup is zeroed out. You can't, he's got negative money. How is he supposed to enter that in a tournament? You donkey. Stop looking on YouTube for lineups to copy paste. Learn a process and learn how to build lineups yourself instead of scrolling through the timeline. Oh, there's a screen with a lineup on. I'm going to take that. No, don't do that. If that's what you're here for, kiddie games down the street. So every lineup that has Bridgewater, I'm going to make a group that makes sure I have at least 2 of these pass catchers. I'm also going to build a separate group with every player on the opposing team. I will include kickers with their quarterback at captain as well. So we're going to build an Atlanta group, including the quarterback, including every viable play on Atlanta. Hunter Hurst as well. Won't be including defense. Not going to include the kicker with the opposing quarterback. No correlation there. Zacchaeus. Anybody that you think is going to be a high volume guy, and at least one of these players with Teddy Bridgewater in that group. Also going to talk about the pass catcher groups that we want to build. So if if Julio Jones, who I believe is going to play, he's always questionable every single week. He never participates in Tuesday or Wednesday. It's just get used to that. It's been that way for like 4 years. Just pay attention to Friday practices for main slates. Pay attention to Tuesday, Wednesday walkthroughs for Thursday night games, because those are the ones that give us the most knowledge. If Julio Jones is there, expect his 8+ targets coming his way, as well as Ridley. If he is out, then clearly Ridley is going to be the guy running more deep downfield routes, as he has his ADOT is much deeper in games where Julio Jones is not the guy. So that kind of is just the way that you need to think about it. So it's just kind of there. So as we're looking at these things, we have to take into consideration that we're going to use this with all of those players. So if we're going to have Julio Jones at captain, we're going to make sure that Matt Ryan is in that group. If we are going to utilize Calvin Ridley at captain, we're going to make sure that Matt Ryan is in that group. If we are going to build Todd Gurley, I am not going to include that. If we're going to build Hunter Hurst or Hayden Hurst lineups, I always call him Hunter Hurst Helmsley. If we have Hayden Hurst in there at captain, we're going to make sure that Matt Ryan is in that group. And the last group that we're going to build is a flex group, where I'm going to limit the kickers and defenses for both teams. Make sure that both are clicked. I'm going to make sure that I use both of those groups. So we'll pick a kicker from both teams. We'll pick the defense from both teams. And I'm going to make sure that I limit to 1. Yes, I know that there are outliers, right? We're trying to position ourselves for the best possible situations that we can, right? We want to make sure that we have the best mathematical, not Ian Thomas, the best mathematical ways to win these tournaments. So yes, I know that outliers can exist. And I know that on Monday Night Football in the Rams game, the winning lineup had, I think, Goff was the captain and had both defenses in it, the opposing defense and that defense. Those are called outliers. Math can't always account for 100% of possible outcomes. And we need to set ourselves up for the most likely outcomes and not just, trying to cover every base, because you can't possibly do that. So the way that we go about things is trying to build lineups for the most possible outcomes, put us in the best position to overweight 1% and top 5% finishes on the, on the week and on the slate, which puts us in the best position to win if we can catch a late touchdown and get lucky. You want to put yourself in a position to get lucky and not just rely on dumb luck to win. So if you're building hand-built lineups, that's the way that you go. If you want to go look over at Fantasy Labs, here's their optimizer. We're going to take a look at building these showdown lineups here. And I have 5 simple groups that I build for every single one of these showdown slates. And then there are going to be different player correlations and player groups that I'm going to build around everyone. But this is kind of the starting point. And this is what we just talked about. Pair your captain quarterback with at least 2 wide receiver, tight end, or kickers from the same team. Pair your captain quarterback with at least 1 quarterback, running back, wide receiver, or tight end from the opponent. Pair your captain wide receiver with exactly 1 quarterback from the same team. Pair your tight end with exactly 1 quarterback if they're the captain from the same team. And limit to at most 1 defense and kicker from the same game. Make sure that you apply the settings. Head to the lineup builder. Click this X here. Make sure it's going to build you 150 lineups and generate lineups based on whatever you want, whether it's projected points, whether it's your rating system, if you've messed with the models or you're using a specific model that's built for cash games or more for tournament or more matchup based. Fantasy Labs will basically spit out whatever you tell it to spit out. What it's going to do here, and I can guarantee you it's going to do that, is every lineup builder based on the high median projections that quarterbacks carry along with them, we're going to be overweight where we want to be on quarterbacks at captain. So if we look at our captain ownership right now, Mike Davis is our highest captain, then Teddy Bridgewater at 21, and Matt Ryan's at 2.7. So I'm going to max them both at 8%. I'm sorry, that's minimum. I'm going to max both of these guys at 8%. Make sure that you save it, generate lineups, and it's going to make a whole new set of lineups for us that only has a maximum exposure of 8% of either quarterback so that we get more position players. And I'll go through and I'll limit my field of captains because the way that I play Showdown, I want to make sure that guys that I believe can lead the slate in fantasy points overall, just raw fantasy points overall, I want them in captain the most. Right now, Mike Davis looks like our most played captain, followed by Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore. You can go through and click your Teddy Bridgewater lineups. It'll just isolate to show you those. Every one of these Bridgewater lineups does have 2 of the players that are on his team at those positions, and at least 1 of the players from the other team that we talked about before. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you being here. Drop a like on the video. Look out for another video right here.
He's a legend.